Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Bonsoir, welcome to Game Over Montreal. That sucked. I don't know about UK, but it's been a while for me since I yelled at my TV because I frankly have like a much more calm demeanor when it comes to the Canadians, like while watching games than I did when I was younger. But if I had something to throw and smash my TV tonight, it probably would have happened.
Yeah, yeah.
That was atrocious.
That was so bad. And I frankly have a really hard time talking past what we will be talking about, which will be the refs. Because I hate feeling this way. I would love to talk about the team. I'd love to criticize the team, and I'm sure we will. I'd also love to praise the team for the things they did well. However, the only thing my brain is just yelling at me is refs bad, refs bad, refs bad. It's hard. I'm so upset. I'm so mad right now, Andrew.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. And I'm seeing some anger towards Marty St. Louis. We are going to talk about that in the second segment after we get through with talking about how like this specific game went. We're going to talk about the refs, but I think we got to talk about it like in the context of the game as well. And the third segment, what I want to roll up to like kind of finish the show off is talking about the Demidov line with Slavkovsky and Kapanen, because there's good things there, but there's a particular thing that makes the line completely non-functional, even though it generally looks good. So I want to dig in on that before we head into the overtime segment at the end, where our awesome people in the chat will get to join us and fire questions away. Now, before we get too deep into the refs, because we're going to do that, we got to talk to you about our partner here, our sponsor of the first segment, or the first period of Game Over Montreal, always, Inchu Bijou. So let us tell you about them. At the famous chateau at 4000 Rue Saint-Ambroise lies one of Montreal's coolest secrets, a glamorous Gothic jewelry store owned and run by women. Inchu Bijou isn't just a business. They've built a community that supports bold creativity and expression. When I was first introduced to founder Astrida Pisagomian's shop, I was floored by the detail, vision, and scale of what she's built from her own mind. I don't think anyone would call me goth, but I know an innovator when I see one. Along with building their own business, Inchu Bijou also hosts markets for vendors in their space called Marché Maleficarum, boosting their whole community. If you don't live in Montreal, explore inchubijou.com, where you'll find over 800 designs that range from affordable to bespoke. Check out Inchu Bijou right now, a Game Over partner from the beginning. Welcome back to Game Over Montreal. It's the first period now. I am Andrew Berkshire. I'm here with Kay Imam, and we're recapping the Canadiens' loss to the New York Rangers in overtime in a game where they led 3-0 and seemed to be in complete control. Not that they were ever like having a fantastic possession game or anything, but the New York Rangers came into this game, I guess, with a bit of energy in the first, but overall they didn't really create that much. I don't think that's unfair to say. At the beginning, they were getting some shots, but they weren't really creating high danger scoring chances by any stretch of the imagination. The Canadiens rattle off 3 goals, and all of a sudden, the way the game shifted was very curious. And I think the NHL is in a situation right now where they need to start being a little bit more careful, because I don't know if you've seen, Kay, but there have been people within the NBA and MLB who have been caught recently dealing with betting.
Yeah.
Sports betting is, frankly, an absolute plague.
Absolutely.
On sports media, on jobs in this industry. It is a bad thing. There is nothing good about sports betting. It doesn't drive interest in games. It doesn't drive interest in sports. It drives abusive behavior surrounding sports. Now, I'm not saying that refs had money on this game, but the NHL is at a point right now where the officiating is so terrible, game in, game out, that the integrity of the results are going to start being questioned. And I think it's going to start happening from players.
Yeah.
Because the inconsistency within a single game is so extreme that We've seen players in the Canadiens talking about it this year. We've seen Marty St. Louis talking about it this year. The Canadiens have clearly suffered the wrath.
They're being very clearly paid for those comments.
Yes.
But they weren't wrong. And
No, they weren't.
I think that's the thing that really just, it's really frustrating because everybody's like, everybody knows, everybody saw what happened. Now, some people may have a different read on it than others. We'll talk about this a little bit more, but for me personally, it's really hard to criticize their play when the entire game another team didn't have to follow the rules. Therefore, to me, their results, it isn't just the penalties that were called, it's what wasn't called that led them to not be able to play their game. So to me, I frankly do not, like, I get it. I get people are upset about some of the ways they played. I understand. I have a really hard time getting mad at that. So it's the fact that, like, everybody at the very least saw that those were some bullshit calls or soft calls, right?
The Lane Hudson one in particular.
The Lane Hudson one was insane. The Jake Evans in OT, they never call anything in OT unless it's almost murder. So,
well, especially after what they let go in the third, and even before that Jake Evans penalty, Kapanen gets a breakaway. He misses the net. The puck goes up the boards. He collects it, circles back, beats the Rangers to the middle of the ice, and then a Rangers defender comes streaking across, sticks Kapanen in the legs, and he's flying through the air. The puck's going the other way. That's not called. Kapanen with the puck in a scoring position in the slot, but Jake Evans with a one-handed tap on the arm on Panarin, that's called?
Yeah. Like, also, if you ask Gary Galley, by the way, totally 110% the Canadiens' fault. 110% Kapanen should have been better. 110% just completely. Oh, by the way, also, I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but he had a very good time. It sounded like he was having a great time every single time something like that happened to the Canadiens. And it's so frustrating, Andrew. I usually just, listen, I know everybody's like, oh, just mute it. I shouldn't have to. There's a service I am paying for. I should receive quality, or at the very least, I should be able to listen to the rink noises. I have ADHD. I can't just pay attention with silence. It is bad.
It's so bad. And I think the thing that makes people so angry, right? It's not that Gary Galley is just bad at his job. It's that he's the guy who's always on specifically Montreal Canadiens games, and he fucking hates the Montreal Canadiens.
He does.
Like, let's put it out there. It's so obvious. The dude hates them. And I get it. You don't have to love every team in the league, but, like, if you don't like the team, don't put them on the home broadcast. You don't have to be out there, like, kissing Nick Suzuki's ass every 3 seconds. But when you have a very obvious trip in the offensive zone in the slot and you say nothing about it, and then a little tap on the shoulder with one hand on the stick, and then that gets called and you're like, oh my God, Jake Evans is, like, making such a dumb mistake. Like,
also our biggest penalty killer, by the way,
yeah.
On our biggest penalty killer of all people. And it's just so frustrating to see, because there is plenty that this team could be doing better. I just don't feel like it's, and why that penalty shot, refs barely ever call those. Jacob Fowler's in his 4th period of NHL hockey ever. Like, this is his 2nd game, and they're putting it's bullshit. It's really just bullshit. It's such massive bullshit. And again, it's not just about what was called, it was also about what wasn't called. People are mad about the shot goal. Fine. I'm also mad about this. This team could be doing better. They have been doing better this season. They could be even better. I get it. I totally hear you. How are they supposed to be in the zone if every single time they enter the Rangers zone, before they can even get there, they're being held, they're being tripped, there's so many picks I saw, so many, like, boarding, so many times that it was just, you tweeted about this can opener from, I don't remember on who it was, but it was genuinely so obvious in the third that I was like,
it was on Caulfield.
Yeah,
Caulfield
that
had
was
the puck in the neutral zone, and a Ranger came across, stick between the legs, twisted and pushed him over. And it's like, what is a penalty even?
and like not that like it matters who the penalty is on, but that is Cole Caulfield, one of the more entertaining players playing in this game right now. Do you not want to let him have the opportunity to cook? Like, as a person who is trying to help be part of a league that is a real league with real fans and real sport on that ice, no, we're not going to call it fairly. We're not. And the thing that bothered me the most is that suddenly the whistles are just put away. They're just
Yeah.
away. And then in the OT, they come back. OT of all places. I've seen people get away with nearly murder in OT. What are we doing here?
It's really hard to stomach. And for those who are saying like the Canadiens didn't play well, the Canadiens defense was bad, agreed. 100% agreed. Now, I think what I would say about this game in terms of like wanting it more, because it's very clear the Rangers wanted this game more. This was an important game to the New York Rangers.
Yeah.
It was way more important than it was to the Canadiens. I think that was obvious based on the pace of play and like who was pushing play. But the Rangers didn't play well. The Canadiens didn't necessarily play poorly either. Like, this was probably a 4-2 game.
Yeah.
That's what it probably should have been. Now, that doesn't mean the Canadiens played better than the Rangers. I'm not saying that at all. But they did get the advantage after weathering the initial early storm by the Rangers. The Rangers were totally getting dummied until that penalty call. Now, we can talk about the lack of the ability of the PK to show up in these situations and get those kills, because it is a problem. The special teams have not been great for this team this year. However, I'm not as worried about most folks about the blown leads. And I'll get to that more when we talk about Marty St. Louis in the second period, because of the pattern that consistently is propping up this year, which is Habs gain a lead. All of a sudden, there's a series of phantom calls or like really extremely obvious non-calls where the Canadiens should have gotten a power play. Other team gets back in it. Whistles go away. And it's like this over and over and over again. And tonight, the back-to-back phantom call on Lane Hudson and then the very dubious penalty shot call. In a perfect world, they don't score on either of those, right? And the Canadiens like get some momentum off of killing that penalty and carry that through, and it's a 3-0 first period. But perfect worlds don't exist. And I am far more willing to forgive in-game problems than I am somebody external to the game putting their thumb on the scale and changing the entire flow of the game. And I think that when you look at this was like the 100th anniversary game for the New York Rangers. It's an important game against, I guess, a historical rival. Do the Rangers have historical rivals? They're an original 6 team, I guess, but like they're one no one gives a crap about. Yeah, no one cares.
No one cares.
You've got one Stanley Cup in the last 85 years. Like you're just not relevant. You can call yourselves original 6 if you want, but even the players they're bringing in, I'm not trying to denigrate them.
The only reason I even have any strong feelings about the New York Rangers is A, the existence of Chris Kreider, and B, the fact that it seems like every single season, every time they're in Madison Square Garden, they get screwed. I don't remember exactly what happened last year, but there was this one game that I consistently, and it's the nature of a fan to go back to the games that they feel were unfairly officiated. I could have talked about any of the games that like they lost a point where they could have very well gotten a point in because of their own play. But to me, frankly, every single time near the end of that season when they were having trouble getting that one last point, I would remember that Rangers game because it was so blatantly bad that I had other teams' fans reaching out to me in my DMs being like, yo, what the fuck?
It was bad. It was really bad and really obvious in this one. And even if you were to ignore like the actual calls that went against the Canadiens, which many of them were dubious, I mean, they got away with some too, right? Yeah. That always happens. Demidov had like holding the jersey situation like late in the third period where he was battling on the boards and he just like grabbed the guy's jersey and pulled him off the puck. And
This is very funny. I'm not gonna lie. That's Scooby-Doo bullshit.
It's always funny, but also like when it happens to you, you get really mad. 100%. But honestly, like the non-calls on the Rangers were a bigger problem than the calls on the Canadiens. There weren't a lot of calls in this game. So when the calls get made, when they're not calling anything, they better be really good calls. And they weren't. But the Rangers were running picks all night. And it wasn't even like great scoring chance picks.
No.
There was a moment in the third period where Artemi Panarin was under pressure by Noah Dobson at the defensive blue line for the Canadiens. So Dobson was trying to shove him offside. And then 44 from the Rangers, I think that's Gavrikov, came in and just like skated in between them and stood in front of Dobson.
Yeah.
To stop him from going
it's legal,
and checking
right?
Panarin. It's not, though.
It's totally legal. No, Andrew, it's so legal. It's never
legal
more
sometimes.
legal.
But yeah, it's like we can talk about what was disappointing about the game from the Canadiens' perspective, but I think you raised like the most important point, Kay, is that if the officiating standard is so clearly tilted like that, you can't really get your feet under you. The Canadiens had an advantage in this game and should have been able to close it out.
Yeah.
But they were prevented from doing so. Now, like, all credit to the Rangers in the second period for actually like getting those couple of goals or whatever.
No,
but they don't manage that if they're not allowed to just cheat.
That's the thing, is if it's two teams not playing the same game, how am I meant to compare them? Yes, I'm mad. I will stay mad. I will die mad. Don't come at me with that. I will. Don't trust me. I will. It's so hard because it's a wasted game. You know, there's like, I know we're going to talk about it a little bit more, but there were, again, Slav was doing like great Slav things, the Slav we have come to expect in the last little while. Nick Suzuki, I thought, had a much better game than, I can't remember if it was last game that I thought he struggled or the one before. There's good stuff. Again, I think Arbor Jacki did well in being called back in the lineup. I feel for Jacob Fowler, frankly. It was a bit of the team wasn't helping him as much. They should have helped him more. I feel like today maybe he had a little bit more trouble with rebounds than he did last game. But not to the point where I'd say he's at fault. I just mean, and it was great of him, by the way. I loved that he weathered the storm to start that game before the Habs really turned it on. And that's kind of what you get when you, that's what a good goalie does, you know, like, and no shade, maybe a little bit of shade, but like no shade. It's just, that's what you need from your goalie. So I'm not blaming this on him at all. But the fact of the matter is that is a baby. That is a baby in your net. You got to shield the baby a little bit. So again, I understand the criticism. I have my own criticisms about this. I just don't think I can overall fault this team for how this game went down today.
No, I agree. Like, I would like to see better play, but like, go on, if you have a moment and you're on your computer or your phone or whatever, and you can check things without turning us off, because like, please keep us on. That really helps us. We want the watch time and we appreciate you hanging out with us. But go to Natural Stat Trick and click on the game for this one, right? The first period, it's all Rangers to start in terms of shots. They're just shooting from everywhere. They're getting shots on net. The Canadiens score, and all of a sudden it's all Canadiens. And you look and the shot chart just dives towards the Canadiens.
Yeah.
The Rangers get one shot attempt, draw a penalty, get those two goals back to back. And even then, start of the second period, all Habs, they score. And then the Rangers get their goals back. And it's kind of mostly Rangers to the end. Habs kind of started well in the third again, and then the Rangers took over. Like, how many of those momentum shift changes happen naturally in this specific game without the officials putting their thumb on the scale? I think maybe the second period, but the first period at the end, that doesn't happen without.
The second period is just Habs behavior. Second period is just just a Montreal Canadiens moment, certified Montreal Canadiens moment. You know, I'm seeing that like Thomas Keyboard here is saying that the deservometer had New York Rangers at 70 and acknowledges that there's flaws. I think we can all agree that there's flaws to that. I think these are the kind of things that are hard for numbers to quantify. Like, it's hard because they don't have that context, right? This is why you got to look at things holistically. Again, do I think they played a game that was just extraordinary, that they absolutely deserved? Like, they deserve better, though. I don't know if I'd say they deserve to win. I'd say they deserve better.
I
And I
think
think it's just
getting
unfair that they were put in a position where they couldn't get that.
yeah, I think getting a point out of this is probably as good as they needed to get. Like
Yeah.
this is we're upset, but at the end of the day, it's 1 point that they
Yeah.
lost. It like the upset isn't from the loss, it's how consistent this specific situation has been. And
Mhm.
yes, part of it can be blamed on like a young team. There's a lot of injuries. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
like
bad.
Jake Evans just came back, but
God, and I
Doc is
just
still gone. They don't have a second line center again. They don't have Caden Gooley, which is a huge, huge factor, especially killing penalties. He's by far their best penalty killing defenseman. It's not even close.
Yeah.
It's not even close. So that hurts. But at a certain point, they've got to start figuring out ways to battle back in these ones and not blow games. But
one more gripe.
you can't always be fighting the refs. Like it just
One more gripe. How, and again, this is a Gary Galley related gripe. I'm so mad. Andrew, I'm so fucking mad. How is it that every single game, and this happens every single time I have to listen, I have the displeasure of hearing this man talk, is every single game, oh, you know, the New York Rangers really missing Adam Fox on their power play. Oh, they're really missing etc. player here. Oh, Adam Fox. How about the 15,000 people that the Habs have out? I know Caden Gooley doesn't have the name recognition of a lot of these big name defensemen, a lot of big players. I get it. However, if you are covering this team, as Gary Galley does every single time, you should be able to tell who are important players. The penalty kill without Alex Newhook, man. Jake Evans, it's his first game back, which also I just like to clarify that Marty, I think, said specifically, or someone, the team has insisted and continues to state that it was not an injury related thing that he was out for. He was just out because of personal reasons. So we have no reason to doubt that other than like a report from TVA, I think. I'm going to choose to believe that what they're saying. I'm not going to speculate on that. They've been pretty transparent about injuries. So I have no reason to speculate on that. But the fact of the matter is he also did miss a game. It is what it is, right? It's just so infuriating. They have here, let me just really quickly. Mike Madsen played 27 minutes tonight. Lane Hudson played 26. Nick Suzuki, 24 and a half. Like, these aren't numbers that a team does when they have options. And it's clearly adding up. Hey, maybe, you know, was Patrick Laine doing everything for this team? No, of course not. Was Alex Newhook just the superstar for this team? No, of course not. But these things add up. Kirby Dach, especially at 2C, that's a big thing. Again, it's just really frustrating because it feels like the Montreal Canadiens are dealing with a lot of things, as every single team is. But I know it's so whiny baby behavior to be like, but why aren't people acknowledging it? But it's also like, why aren't people acknowledging it? I feel so protective of them. I'm like, you guys are not seeing the context of this. Please be nicer to my team. And that is baby behavior. I will admit that.
Yeah. Yeah. And Thomas Keyboard is asking 4 goals on 10 shots at one point. It doesn't worry anyone that through 31 games we've had greater than 30 shots on goal 5 times. I think it was Ian had it as 6, but yes, it is worrying. They don't shoot enough. We all know that. We've been saying it all season. They need to shoot more. But
100%.
Again, like the shot count tonight isn't really reflective of how the game was played. Like the shot count, like the Rangers threw everything at the Canadiens, were allowed to cheat, especially in the third period, willy-nilly. Like there was nothing that they could do that was going to be called. And they got 24 shots in regulation. Like this was not a game where I think like shots on goal is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, it was a low shot game.
I do agree. I do think that the Habs should 110% be shooting more, which is something we will talk about later, I think, specifically in terms of one line. So we agree.
Yes.
We agree there.
And also, like, I forget who it was here in the chat. I'm trying to look through here quickly, but someone was saying that like the Canadiens are giving up a ton of high danger chances. They gave up 12 at even strength tonight, which is not great. The bigger issue is that they only got 3 themselves, but I'm kind of dubious on that tracking tonight, to be honest. But in terms of like how much they're giving up in terms of high danger chances, they're middle of the league. Like they're not bad defensively. I think we have to remember in context, like this game, yes, they gave up 5, but the biggest issue that they've had defensively this year is not that they're giving up crazy amounts of chances. They give up the odd really great chance. Every team does. But the difference with the Canadiens has been every time they give up a good chance, it's in the back of the net. And that's been the way that it's been since like game 6 for Dobesh, where he started to fall apart as well. He started the season really well. So like, yeah, it looks like they're bad defensively because they're giving up a lot of goals, but they're mid. Like the Washington Capitals give up the exact same number of high danger chances per minute that the Canadiens do. 11.48 per 60 minutes at 5-on-5. But while the Canadiens in that situation give up 2.9 goals per hour, the Capitals give up 1.83.
Yeah.
So that's goaltending. That's
the difference.
That's not defending. And I'm not trying to railroad the goalies. They've had a tough time, but they're not doing it. And that's not a Fowler issue tonight, I don't think, but
no,
it hasn't helped them all season long. And yeah, they're a significantly improved defensive team over the last few years, despite missing Caden Gooley all season.
Yeah. Listen, overall as a pattern, these are fair criticisms to make. I just frankly have a really hard time making them tonight. It's hard. I think it was Ian, who is also maybe it's Ian from Locked In Canadians, who is also in our chat. Also, thank you so much. Really appreciate everybody in the chat chiming in. We love having you guys here. After a loss, especially, I know it's not always super fun. So we really appreciate you being here.
100%.
But I think Ian perhaps was the one who pointed out that next game, the team they're playing is also one they got jobbed against last time. So that should be a fun one.
And listen, this is extremely petty of me. Man, we've gone long on this first segment, but whatever. But the NHL concerning the Habs and Rangers owes the Canadiens, as far as I'm concerned, for like 2 decades. Number one, Chris Kreider murdering Carey Price and destroying his career.
Yeah.
Which probably ended his career like 3 or 4 years earlier than it should have.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got the Rick Nash interference on Carey Price that was literally the most obvious goaltender interference call in the history of goaltender interference. And yet he was allowed to skate through the crease, hook Price's pad, pull him completely out of the net, and allow his teammate to score on an empty net. It was reviewed and still allowed because the contact with Price's pad was outside the crease, even though in order to contact Price's pad, his skate had to go into the crease to hook it and pull him out. But anyway, this is a constant thing with the Canadiens and the Rangers. Like, it's not just this game. It's all the time. It's ridiculous. I don't know why it happens, but it's really obvious and really ridiculous. It's sad.
Every single time. And also, as Ian says in the chat, like the stream. So be sure to like the stream.
All right, let's get away from the refs before we just rant and rave all night long, because we can do that. And we'll tell you about the sponsor of our second period, which is Le Saint Motel. And then when we get back to it, we're going to talk about Marty St. Louis, blown leads, and the Montreal Canadiens, and whether or not it's actually a pretty big concern. While you're browsing into Bijou's goth shop, head next door and discover Montreal's most unique selfie studio. Whether you're looking to take some banger pics of your Halloween costume or cosplay, or you want to make some memories with friends, Le Saint Motel has you covered. Experience their bombastic decors that are always changing, hop in the ball pit, and take advantage of their extensive and flexible on-site lighting. Head to lesaintmotel.com to book your time in the studio, book private time where you and your friends will be the only ones allowed in, or book the space for an event. The dedicated, caring staff will make sure that you have a good time. I do have one warning for you before you book. If you have kids, they won't want to leave. Whether you're at the St. Motel or in Chibiju, tell them Game Over sent you. Welcome back to Game Over Montreal. I am Andrew Berkshire. I'm here with Kay Imam. Please smash like on the stream if you're enjoying the show. And even if you're not, because why not? It doesn't hurt you. It's not going to hurt. Nobody's going to remember. We're only going to remember the positives. So smash it, hit subscribe, share with your friends, post us on social media. It really helps us out. We really do need the help because algorithms are pieces of shit. Sorry, there's a lot of swearing on this one, but I think we're upset.
We're so mad.
We're rattled. We're rattled. All right. I've seen a lot of anger directed towards Marty St. Louis, not just in this game, but recently. And a lot of people talking about coaching change, which I think is really delusional.
They're not going to do it.
I understand
nor
people.
Should they?
Yeah. I understand impatience and expectations change things, but folks have to remember that this is still the middle of the rebuild. And Trinka in the chat, and she said this on Blue Sky as well, said that multiple things can be true at the same time. They're young, the defense was bad, maturity and poise are a problem, and they can't get the calls. It's the third year of the rebuild. Rebuilding isn't linear. They have lots of guys coming. They're super injured. They have a great pipeline. I get being disappointed and frustrated, just not being mad at the team. And I think that is exactly the take for this team.
Go with another banger take. Go with another
always
banger
the banger tanks. Always the banger tanks. But it's so easy to forget because the ascendance has been so quick that this team is way ahead of schedule. So yes, I understand the frustration now that expectations are higher and people want to see improvement in areas that bother them. But remember that this is a coaching staff and a team that are both developing at the same time with a management group that has also never done this before and developing at the same time. It honestly makes zero sense whatsoever that they're ahead of schedule.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. It is very wild.
It was not. Who expected that going into that? Who expected it? Not me. You're lying if you said you were. It's not. Come on. They didn't have a 2C.
Yeah. Montreal MUFC says David Quinn was rightfully sacked in New York, even though he took a then young Rangers team to the playoffs. Why is the matter not legitimate here? First of all, because Quinn didn't develop anyone. He wasn't a good coach and hasn't been a good coach since. Whereas Marty St. Louis, it feels weird because it feels like I'm talking about comics whenever you compare who would beat who and you talk about feats. The feats of Marty St. Louis, the accomplishments so far are extremely impressive, especially considering how little experience he has. The turnarounds he's orchestrated in not just young players development, but in older veteran players developing their own games a little bit. Josh Anderson was unplayable 3 years ago. Yeah. Unplayable.
Oof, bad. Oof.
And now he's a contributor pretty much every night. He does a simple job, but he stays within his bounds and helps, and it's not just him, it's all down the line. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I think when we're talking about Marty St. Louis, we do have to put into context that he is very different in his thought process than most head coaches who are thinking about next shift, next period, next game. Marty St. Louis takes a much more broad, longer view. And that, especially during the rebuild, continues to pay dividends. So I don't see the rationale for the anger there, but I'm going to talk about something specific here because I went and looked it up painstakingly on the NHL's website. That's right. I had to use the NHL's website, their stats website. So I need to pat myself on the back for getting through it because it's terrible.
Yeah.
But the Canadiens over the last, what have I got here? From 2022-23 to 2025-26. So the last few seasons. They are 28th in the league in points percentage. 0.489. That's not great. However, when you look at them actually losing leads, how often do they lose when they gain a lead in the first period, right? So their win percentage when they gain a lead after the first period is 64.6%,
Yeah.
27th out of 32nd or 30. Why has it got 33 teams? They split the Arizona Coyotes and the
That's
Utah Mammoth.
bullshit.
Why would the NHL, man?
They're
What
trying to
is
gaslight us
this?
so hard. They're trying to gaslight us so hard.
Like, you're trying to gaslight me into believing there's 33 teams. The NHL is on one, man. I'm furious with this joke of a league tonight. But like, is it great their win percentage when leading after one? No. But how many losses have they actually accumulated after leading in one period? Not that many. They've lost, let's see here, 14 games out of 277 games played that they've lost a game after leading post first period. That puts them 14th in the league. Now, part of that's because they just haven't led as much, right?
Yeah.
They haven't been a good team. Their percentage is not amazing, but it's also better than their overall win percentage. What about when they're leading after two periods? Right? You can whip that one up. The Canadiens, where are they? 26th. So not 28th, which is their actual points percentage. 0.807. So that is not great. It's not horrifying either. They're not the Winnipeg Jets, who, with Connor Hellebuck over the last few years, win 94.6% of the games that they are leading after the second period. But like, how many games have they actually blown? Not counting this one, because the NHL's website won't update fast because it sucks.
Yeah.
After leading after two periods. Oh, sorry. I clicked ties because the NHL still has ties on there.
Insane.
Even though there hasn't been a tie in 20
crazy.
fucking years.
This is, by the way, more money than I ever could do anything with. Like, individually, these guys have more money than I could do anything with. Hire someone. Hire a person.
Yes. No, they'll just get the SAP to do another shitty job. But the Canadiens have lost 10 games over the last like 3.5 seasons now, almost, after leading after two periods. That puts them 13th in the NHL, 13th most. The most is the Canucks at 17. So it's not like there's a huge gap there. The Jets are the least with 3, but they're mid-range in the league in terms of blowing it, right? So it's not actually as big of a deal as I think folks believe, but this season has been a bit of an issue, and recency bias looms large, right? But it's not the like big obvious problem that they're constantly blowing leads. If anything, this team is like the comeback kings. Like, that's been their identity.
Last season was
definitely
their bit that they did last year. I understand. Listen, I think in my point of view, with where this team is right now, what's happening in the here and now is more important than it would be with a team that's like actually in their window, where it like matters to look holistically, look at what it's been like. I do think, because things are supposed to be developing as rapidly as, it's a day-to-day thing. It's a game-to-game, 5 games at a time kind of situation. So I understand. And listen, in the last little while, it's been really frustrating. I've talked about this a lot, about how the immaturity of this team is really frustrating. But at the same time, like you said, recency bias gets you. And listen, I know it feels like a cop-out, but genuinely, this is a team learning to be a contender. And it's not an easy league to do that in. I'm just seeing so much that I'm liking about this team, and I just truly like disagree with what the GDB is saying in the chat about like the culture is getting worse. I just don't think that's true. Like, I just don't think that's true. There's nothing about the culture that's concerning to me. I really have a hard time when I'm really frustrated in the middle of a game. It's really frustrating to watch a team let something go in this way, right? Like, it sucks a lot to see them hold to get it and then let it go. We have to remember there was a time when this team wouldn't even get it, right? Like now it's first step was getting it. Now step 2 is not letting it go, right? Like, they
Yeah.
are making progress. They are. It's frustrating, but they are.
Yeah, 100%. And I know like the GDB saying why not replace MSL in the offseason? All the physical players are not developing. The culture is getting worse. MSL is getting too like.
You're just talking about
Did,
Arbor at this point. Like when you say physical
but
players,
like,
because we've seen what Slaff's been doing.
but
And
like Arbor was
Arbor
great
has been
tonight.
developing. He has been developing, by the way. Let's just
Yeah,
clear
like
that up.
he's been great lately. I think people are confused because Struble was the one who was in last game and not Xhekaj, even though Struble's really, really struggled. So, but I think this fan base also, like, I think they're far more rational than they were under the previous regime. But there's like PTSD or like the insane things that usually happen. But this management group is not insane. Like they're very calculating and they're very like they stick to the plan and they don't panic. So I don't see any evidence that Marty St. Louis is being tuned out. And we talk about like recency bias. Like we also have to remember that in an 82 game season, especially with a team that is not a contender, there's big ebbs and flows. The Canadiens last year started out looking like garbage. Like they looked worse than they did under Ducharme to start last year. They looked like a team that had nothing going.
Yeah.
And then they picked it up and played great. The Canadiens are currently starting to dig themselves out of a rut where they were playing really bad hockey. Like really rough hockey. And they got some wins in there where it was just their skill carrying them through. And good teams have stretches like that where they play poorly and eke out wins or overtime losses, whatever. They find ways
just
to grab
because your
points.
best players are better than other teams' best players.
Exactly, right? But because we're right coming out of that rut, we're all seeing the play from that rut being very magnified. Whereas 6 weeks from now, we could be talking about the way the Canadiens were starting the season, where they looked incredible. We could get that back at any moment, especially if a couple players come back from injury. So,
especially as goaltending gets it together, because there was a lot of time in that really bad stretch where I don't think they were playing that bad. They were just being let down by one factor, which was net, right?
Yeah. And I know folks get like really intense about Arbor Xhekaj and the way that this team has handled him. I remember when he got sent down to the American Hockey League, people were flipping out like Marty hates this guy. But then like you got to listen to what they're saying as well, because unlike most like coach commentary, Marty actually like will tell you what he's thinking. He doesn't just give the talking, like the quotes that every coach gives after the game, or like, we want to be better at this, blah, blah, blah. Power play needs to be quicker. Like he actually tells you things that he's thinking down the line. When they sent Arbor Xhekaj down, they wanted to see if there was more there. It's obvious that he can step in and be a pugilist in this league. He can be a goon, a fighter, a defender, protector, but can he be a regular defenseman? When they sent him down to the American Hockey League, he wasn't just playing a shift. He was running the power play down there. They wanted to see, what can this guy do if we give him more ice time, if we give him more space to make mistakes and grow. We've seen a very slow roll development for Arbor Xhekaj, and I think it's because Marty does like him. And he wants him to be the statement guy on that third pairing. That's their plan for him. For a while, they wanted to see if he could even push himself into the top 4. I don't think that's going to happen. That's not like the best situation for him. But the plan is pretty clear, and I think they've been doing a pretty good job. But players can struggle at times, and I think he's been really good lately, honestly.
I do agree. I like also something that the piano mat says, which is not Arbor's fault and is true, is the piano mat says, do we all forget the league had it out for Xhekaj since last season? I think since he's come into the league, frankly, a lot of rookies, a lot of guys like that who have reputations the kind that Arbor Xhekaj has get like called for penalties that maybe aren't real. Usually it like slows down a little bit. It feels like with Arbor that has happened maybe a little bit, but I agree. I do think Arbor gets calls where maybe he shouldn't, but he also, I think, makes bad decisions like every other player does. I just really don't like the discourse that happens sometimes that's like, You hate Arbor Jack guy. I don't. Also, personally, frankly, I love him. He's, for
Yeah.
me, a hometown kid. Like, he's from Hamilton, Ontario. I respect him so much. I respect his what seems like an upbringing that wasn't the way a lot of hockey players are brought up in terms of money, in terms of he had to work for stuff. Like, I respect him so much. I want him to stay on this team. I think this team wants him to stay. I don't think there's any doubt in how much this team really likes this player. Because don't, like, I have no doubt about the fact that they could have traded this guy. There's a lot of GMs out there who would give up a stupid amount for Arbor Jack guy. I,
Yes.
despite his flaws, despite whatever, I think there is a GM out there who would give up something insane for Arbor Jack guy. This team believes in him enough not to do that.
This is gonna sound like completely insane, but if the Canadians were to put Arbor Jack on the market, I think they could get a deal that would be not the same level, but one of the two top players that moved in the Quinn Hughes deal, a
Yeah.
player of that caliber, I could see moving because, frankly, NHL GMs are not smart, folks. Like, most of these guys barely finished high school because a lot of them are former players. There are some very smart guys at the top there. Fortunately, the Canadians have one of them, but a lot of them are not the sharpest tools in the shed, and they
I mean, there's
value
people who
things.
don't finish high school who are smart, but
Yes,
I think there's a lot of guys here who have this very typical hockey thinking and isn't necessarily holistic in the way that like we've seen from truly successful general managers. And they all
100%.
have this like massive boner for guys like Arbor. And trust me, like the hockey needs a player like Arbor Jack guy. They need a this team could really use a player that's Arbor Jack guy and better. And I think, and this team thinks there's a lot more to that. I think Marty loves Arbor. I
I do
there's
too.
in my head, there's no doubt that he really likes Arbor, really values him. I truly do not think that Arbor Jack is going anywhere. I'll eat my words if I have to. I don't think so. I think they like him so much they drafted his brother a little earlier than maybe a lot of people thought they should have, right? Now that's a gamble that seems to be paying off, so good for them. But this team is Jack Eye pilled. They they
Yeah.
are they are a big fan. So I think that's the thing too, is like I don't also just after having this long discussion, let me just say I don't understand how we as a fan base spend this much time talking about a guy who is essentially a 6 or 7D. Six ideally, 5'6" ideally, right? Like, but right
Yeah.
now is a 6 or 7. So I
It's
don't
because he's
understand why we're doing this.
it's because he's so fun and so unbelievably lovable. There's something about the Jack Guy family, and I think this is part of why they drafted Florian as well. Like, obviously they believe in him, but that family just feels like family. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, they feel like you want them to be around your team.
Yeah.
Whether it's Mama Jack Guy or Papa Jack Guy or Arbor or Florian, they just have like this wholesome quality to them. But also, if you cross them, they'll murder you and they'll
Yeah.
never find your body. Not real murder, only on ice murder. But like, there's a lot to that. And I agree that Marty does really like Arbor Jack Guy. And I think the way that you can kind of puzzle that together is when he was sent down to the American Hockey League a few years ago, Arbor was upset.
Mhm.
Like, he did feel it was unfair. And I believe his parents were actually upset as well, like, as you would be, right? They felt like he deserved to stay in the NHL. But he has not complained since then because he saw the benefit.
Yeah.
Like, he is someone who Marty, yes, has a tougher standard on. I've seen like the GDB in the chat was saying like he gets stapled to the bench a lot, but most players also don't have the red mist factor that Arbor
Mhm.
has, right? That's not a super common quality, and they don't have the obscene strength that he has that makes that seeing red that he gets actively dangerous. So
Mhm.
I think sometimes Marty is doing things for Jacques benefit that might seem like punishment for those of us watching on the outside. but it's not. And I think there's a communication there between player and coach that we don't get to see.
Yeah.
That keeps that relationship strong, because there isn't friction there when you look at them interacting.
Yeah.
There's
And
a
you'd
lot of
see it.
trust.
You'd see it at this point.
see it.
He and Marty have he's been here long enough that we would have seen it. Sorry, I saw something here. Sorry, let me just. And I think that Arbor, I want to acknowledge that I think he's worked really hard both before
Yes.
he entered this league, and I respect that so much. And I also think he's worked really hard since he was became a part of the Canadiens. I think Arbor Jacki loves being a Montreal Canadian. That is so important to me in a player. I frankly really, really care about that. I don't like seeing guys put on that jersey that don't seem to value that jersey. I don't think that's the case for Arbor Jacki at all. I respect him a lot. And I just want to take the second to say I think he did great. I'm seeing someone ask if you'd sit Struble, Jacki, or Engstrom tomorrow. I think Struble is still the one who sits.
Yeah, Struble
I
has
don't think
really
Arbor is
struggled.
out. I don't think Arbor is the one who goes out. Maybe Engstrom if Marty's feeling trigger happy, but I don't think he should. I think it should be Struble who stays out right now.
I mean, Engstrom wasn't as strong tonight as he was in the last game, where he was phenomenal. But different teams, different games. He's a young player. There's going to be ups and downs. So I think they want to get him some reps. I still would like to see them spread things out a little bit more. I like the idea of breaking up Dobson and Matheson for a stretch because they've been struggling together, and putting Dobson with Hudson is fun for sure.
It's very fun. It's very fun.
But I would like to see Engstrom with Lane just to see what happens. I just want to see it for a bit and see how it works. But we should talk about the Canadiens not shooting, because that's really important. So let's switch over to the third segment here. It is the third period now of Game Over Montreal, so please smash like and hit subscribe. Share us on your favorite social media of choice. Tell your friends, because this is the fun place to hang out after the Canadiens win or lose. We'll help you get through it. We'll give you the details. We'll have actual good hockey analysis that doesn't rely on shitty narratives like size being the factor when it had nothing to do with it. And we'll actually call people out when they deserve to be called out, because we have no fear.
Yep.
That's how we operate here.
Yeah, we're badasses. Sorry.
We're badasses.
We're badasses. Really. I'm a baby.
But we're yelling about the refs. We're not badasses. We're whiny babies sometimes, but that's okay.
And that's okay.
That's part of being a fan of sports. We're really, really mentally and spiritually impacted by a bunch of muscly dudes hitting a rubber disc around an ice patch with sticks. It's silly. They wear knives in their feet, but we care a lot, so much.
We do.
So
as Trinka says, badasses in cardigans. I hope you guys like my cardigan. I really like it. It's nice and yellow. Sorry, just want to acknowledge my cardigan.
100%.
Real quick.
And I hope you enjoy this Montreal. I guess it's not really the Game Over Montreal sweater. We've got the Game Over Montreal toque as well right here, which you can find on the GameOverNetwork.com if you really want to support us. We also have a Patreon, which you can throw us a couple bucks every month if you're so inclined. It really does help us as we try to make some opportunities for young sports journalists in this country, because frankly they don't exist, which I ranted about on Blue Sky earlier today. But the lack of shots from the Montreal Canadiens, this is a big issue. But the biggest issue that I can see right now, and where the lack of shots is coming from, is the line of Demidov, Kapanen, and Slavkovsky.
Yeah,
I watched that line. I like how they play, but no one shoots.
Yeah.
They will have shifts where they look so dangerous. They get into scoring position. They rip teams apart in transition. They're so strong on the boards. And then everybody, when they get the puck in shooting position, is like, well, I could also pass. And then eventually the passes fail, because you can't just pass forever in the NHL unless you pass around the perimeter. But they're not doing that. They're making good, dangerous, incisive passes, then failing to complete the play by putting the puck on net. I was checking Natural Stat Trick earlier, and that line had something like 4 shot attempts.
Yeah.
It was really rough. The shot attempts Yeah, while no, it was worse than that. Shit. While Kapanen was on the ice, 2 shot attempts for the Canadiens, 23 against.
Oof.
Now, I'm not saying Kapanen is bad. I'm not saying Demidov is bad. I'm not saying Slavkovsky is bad. Again, I like watching that line play together. I think there's a lot of potential there. I think all of them are actually playing decent hockey overall. But you do have to shoot the puck. You have to fire that biscuit. And they're not. And when they make those plays where they're overpassing, eventually there's a turnover. When it gets back into the Canadian zone, just by virtue of the fact that Kapanen and Demidov are rookies, so much is on Uri Slavkovsky to get that puck back out of the zone. And he's great at it and he does a great job, but they get hemmed in a lot. And that's a problem. You've got like the lack of shooting is actually having a negative defensive impact. They've got to start being a little bit more aggressive. And I know, Kay, you and I talked about this before we started the show, that like Slavkovsky's the veteran. He's got to kind of be the leader. Maybe he should be shooting. But I think because he carries so much of the responsibility in transition and playmaking on that line and getting the puck off the boards to the middle of the ice, that it's got to be Demidov or Kapanen who just take the bull by the horns and start shooting. However, Slav several times tonight had the puck in the slot and was like, "Where's Ivan?"
No, as the GDP says, Cap drives the net on a regular basis. Some rebounds for him to bang in would be nice. And completely agree. That's something that Kapanen is very good at in terms of he just, again, I'm plagiarizing Ian where he says he just drives the net. It's a very like Finnish way of playing where he just goes to the net. And I think if he just I think we see him doing on the power play when there's guys actually shooting where he'll like do his best. And so I completely agree. I think if there's someone throwing the puck at the net, he's likely to try to be like, he's there. Something that I've liked about Slav since he's gotten on that line is I do think he's been shooting more. Yes. But that doesn't mean he's been shooting enough, right? He's been on the first line, he always deferred. I think on this line, he's deferring a little less, but still not enough. But also, that's a great point that you're making. It's hard for him to shoot when he's the one battling along the boards. The reason why you have a guy like Slav so strong, so capable of winning those battles is that he hands it over to his guys, and then the guys do something with it, which is why that first line worked so well. Because Nick and Cole, when they remember to shoot, seem to do it very well. Right. Man, I missed that first line, but I understand why Marty's doing what he's doing. But I miss those boys.
Yeah, it's tough because like, what can he do? Right. He's kind of stuck. Like the injuries are very incisive. And I see Brian Salvatore says Jake Evans on an overtime ridiculous. In general, that statement is completely factual. But what options do they have? Right. Like Suzuki is the only natural center that they have on the roster right now that you'd be like super confident sending out for a face-off.
Yeah.
Like Kapanen has been playing well. I'm totally fine with him taking 3-on-3 shifts, but I wouldn't necessarily trust him with a face-off.
Also, you got to keep in mind, oh wait, no, sorry, never mind. I was going to say they were on the PK. They weren't yet.
No, because Evans took the penalty, which by the way was BS, but anyway, GDB says, wouldn't mind seeing Slav playing with Dobson on the ice for a point shot. You know what? That could be something that could really help out that line, is just let them defer to the defenseman a little bit.
Yeah.
And it probably has to be Dobson because Matheson's stick will break and Lane will also go for the pass. Or you know what? Maybe tell Arbor, just fire it for them.
Yeah, that's a good one. He's got a hell of a shot. I would not want to block that one.
Yeah. But yeah, someone on that line has to start shooting. And
yeah, the GDP again says Slav is at his best when he drives hard and dishes it off. Completely agree. Which is why he has, in my mind, tertiary points. Like, to me, so many of his points are just tertiary points.
Between that and like causing chaos in front of the net, like he's involved in every goal but never gets a point.
Yeah. Watch the game.
Most prolific non-point scorer in the NHL right now. Montreal MUFC is saying get Stamkos. I mean, yeah, he'll shoot. I'm not sold on that just because the price tag for the name recognition is more than what the player is worth right now. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's a little bit easier to acquire. Let's shift over into overtime because this has already gone long and it went into overtime, and I am tired because I'm old now.
I also need to eat eventually at some point.
Yeah, eventually you should do that. That's an important thing to survive.
I swear, every single time I'm on a show, I'm like, guys, guess who's got to eat after this? I promise
the
I
old
do actually. I
ADHD
just
thing,
haven't really. It's the ADHD. It really is. In a game, I'll get so locked in that I'm like,
Yeah.
well, certainly I've never felt a hunger in my life before.
Well, you've got to be prepared for the show in 3 hours, so you can't take 10 minutes to eat, because what if you get like zoned into the eating and then you miss the show? And people say it's not a disability. ADHD. Very fun to live with. I know from experience. All right, folks. So shoot us some questions that you want in the chat. We'll answer them. GB says he's on the West Coast. It's only 8:22. Yeah, I mean, West Coast for like hockey terms, if you can get off work in time, is pretty peak. I got to admit. Like, I'd rather live on the East Coast, having grown up on the West Coast, just because like everything kind of happens in this time zone. But it's pretty peak to be like 5 p.m. and like hockey's on already, and you can just watch and then go out after. You know, like that's pretty sick. I did see a comment that I wanted to get to quickly about Arbor. I think I'm just gonna scroll up and get it. Oh, forgot who said it, but they said Arbor's goal will probably help keep him in the lineup for tomorrow. Could you imagine the outrage online if he sits tomorrow after scoring today?
Honestly, I'd also kind of be outraged with the way we're struggling to find scoring from like not the top six. And by top six, I mean like maybe Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, which by the way, Zach Bolduc scored today, which is good.
Yes, he did. And he drove the net really well.
I think he had a relatively good night. I still don't think that's a solution on the first line, but for right now, it's a good enough Band-Aid. So good for him. Like, I think earlier last week I tweeted and blue skied. I was like, hey, listen, I said it when the trade first happened that like if Zach Bolduc never scores again in his life, I will still like that trade just because of the pieces it moved. But I was not expecting him to test me on that one. No, I still agree with my past self. I still like that trade. And I'm glad that he's giving me reasons to take that back.
Oh, man. Yeah. But please, Marty, don't scratch Arbor tomorrow, because like
please
the troll would be very funny, but I think the fan base would just start to fracture a little bit, and it's been so much more united in this rebuild. Yeah, I'm kind of afraid of the way things are trending right now, because media in Montreal is so toxic at times, and I think that like the negative story does so well for clicks that everybody has been waiting for the time where they can do the negative story on this rebuild.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the fan base get ripped apart by stupid crap, right? Yeah. And don't fall for people trying to antagonize a reaction out of you, right? Like, this is still way ahead of schedule. We should all be pretty pleased overall, even if frustrated right now. Look at the forest for the trees. Yeah. Let's talk some positives, because there are a few. Arbor Xhekaj is one of them. Like, as we mentioned, we don't want him taken out because legitimately he's been very good lately. And again, tonight he was one of the few guys who was very good. And like, I saw some comments following along on socials tonight that people weren't happy with the lack of physicality on the Rangers forecheck in this one. And
can you imagine the penalties they would have called? Can you imagine the penalties they would have called?
But do you know who was really physical today and played completely within the rules? Arbor Xhekaj. He was crunching players on the boards, and he was catching guys who didn't think that he could catch them. He was using his foot speed and just solid body checks into the boards.
He's fast for a big guy. He's fast for a big guy, which is one of his big strengths.
It's deceptive.
Oh, speaking of fast big guys, by the way, Josh Anderson scored? Question mark? Yes, Josh Anderson and Jake Evans scored.
Josh Anderson scored a one-timer.
Banger.
Like, what? Also, even though he had his first career goal, in my opinion, illegitimately called back, Owen Beck has been great.
Yeah.
And another guy who tonight, not a huge guy, deceptively strong.
Yeah.
When Owen Beck gets guys around the boards, they get pinned or they get knocked over. His lower body must have a little bit of Marty St. Louis in there because he is strong.
Sorry, I just have to laugh. Every time someone talks about lower body, I have to laugh. I simply have to laugh.
The old lower body. Montreal MUFC, we're trying to talk positives. Why are you telling me that Joe Veleno played more than Slav Demidov?
Well, ew,
listen,
nasty.
the reason why is pretty obvious though. When you look at how little that line was shooting, right? Like we talked about it already. 2 shot attempts with Kapanen on the ice, 3 with Demidov. Like
it's also
you got to shoot the puck.
It's also
and the PK. Yeah. But also like you got to tell those guys like you want to be on more. More shoot.
Yeah.
Fire.
I also Texier was very good. I've been really liking what I've seen out of Texier. Was not expecting him to be as much of a factor as he's been. So good for him because we definitely needed something to round out that like bottom 6. I think there was something missing there. So really been happy with him. I will this time give it to the French. Not the French Canadians. I'll give it to the French Canadians all the time. Listen, I'm a you know how there's like weebs who are like really like into Japan, like just random people not I'm like that, but I'm a meeb, which is that before for Montreal. So I'm not gonna say it for French Canadians, but for the French, I'll give them one. I'll give this win to them.
It's funny, you know, nobody believes me, but my favorite accent in the world is the Quebec accent.
Yeah.
I adore hearing Quebecois folks speaking English. I find it to be like the most endearing and fun accent to the point where even people that I actively dislike, I enjoy hearing them speak. Like Michel Therrien. Michel Therrien, do not like the guy. Do not like the person. Do not like the coach. But when Michel Therrien is talking, I'm like, talk more, man. I like hearing your voice. I like hearing the way you put things. I like the finding of the words differently, translating into English. Part of it's probably from living here for the last 20 years, but I really genuinely adore the Quebec accent. I find it to be a great one.
Yeah.
Arnaud missed the game, asks how was Fowler. I don't think he was bad tonight, but he definitely struggled a bit more with how bouncy and chaotic things were in front of his net.
The rebounds were a little worse than last time. But I do agree with what the GDB is saying, which is Fowler was good, not great. We didn't lose the game because of him, which is something you can't say for some of our goalies sometimes.
Yeah, GDB points out Therrien's the head coach for Canada at the Spengler Cup. Somebody pointed that out last show that Bergevin is the GM too. Like the Foxhole guys are still together.
Do you want to actively leave?
So nuts. And Trinket says franglais makes me laugh so much, like when French people call car char. One of the things that I find super interesting, because I have family in Newfoundland, and I grew up partially in Fort McMurray, which for those who don't know, there's a huge Newfoundlander population in Fort McMurray. The Newfoundland accent and the Quebec accent in English do the same thing with words that start with H or a vowel. If it's a vowel, they add an H. If it starts with an H, the H goes away. Mm-hmm. So if you're like in a grocery store and you're asking in Newfoundland, like what aisle something's on, often they'll say Heil.
Yeah.
But if somebody's named Harold, it's Harold.
That's very funny. That's very cute.
Yeah. And like Quebecois accent does it as well in English. I love it. And maybe that's why I like the Quebec accent so much, because I grew up around so many Newfoundlanders.
Yeah.
Montreal obviously says typical BS with MSG Ice. Yeah, that arena sucks.
Yeah.
I know it's like a historically big arena, but
boo,
MSG sucks.
Boo.
The lighting sucks. Also, the audio today on Sportsnet was, speaking of ADHD things, or maybe it's like the autism spectrum for me, but that was actively painful for the first 2 periods of the game. Third period, it got a little bit better, but the clipping constantly, Ugh.
Last game too, it was like there were 2 or 3 like maybe Habs fans that I could hear, and they were having the time of their lives. But I was like, guys, I really don't want to just hear screaming, please, please.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. Uh, the GDB again says Monty played well against the Oilers last time we played them, if I remember correctly. Yeah,
Yeah, who do you
I
play?
feel
I saw that asked earlier several times from a few different people.
I feel like Dobesh being the third guy like is really unfair.
I think it's
But
unfair.
also it does make sense just based on like you can't make Monty the third guy after all he's sat through and played through the last few years. Like it's too quick to make that decision. Like it's just
I think
not
they
enough games
maybe
played.
I agree. I think they maybe do a duo of Dobie starting, but Monty backing up. I don't think
That could be
they
interesting.
because I think Fowler has started 2 in a row.
Yeah,
And
he won't
he's
start again.
first of all back to back. You can't do that to a rookie baby. And second of all, I just you know Monty could go in. I guess I don't remember. Yeah, he could go in. Monty could go in. I just feel um I guess that's the thing of it. Like, there's the politics aspect of it too. Like it or
Mhm.
not, there are politics at play here. Locker rooms are an ecosystem that are you need to keep balanced, right? I don't and like how long do you wait before you play Monty again? Because he was out with his illness, I think. He was sick or something. It's a personally, if we're talking strictly goalie, I feel comfortable with. I would go with Dobesh, but I don't know if that's something that they A can do or B will do.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. I'm guessing it'll be Montebo tonight or tomorrow, sorry.
Hmm.
Just because the the opportunity cost of getting Montembeau going and back to what we expect of him is bigger than like getting Dobesh back in the net, right? Like I think Dobesh is going to be fine. He's
Yeah.
not actively in shambles. He's not killing it either, so you can kind of just let that go a little bit, and he's a young guy who probably is willing to take it on the chin a little
Yeah, a
bit
little bit
more.
more.
Not
Yeah.
that Monty's a complainer, like I doubt he would say
He's
anything
been a
anyway.
very good sport according to everything I've seen. He's been very, very good, which I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. Uh I just next game is versus the Oilers, right? And
Yeah.
with them, considering what they have happening in net, you gotta shoot a lot. You gotta shoot considering what they have happening in net versus what they have near our net on the other side, they gotta shoot. That's gonna
Yeah,
be one where I
they do.
really need to see that, where I really need to see that from them.
Yeah. I think we're going to see I mean that's speaking of positives, I think we're going to see a huge game from Lane Hudson tomorrow.
He had a very good one, yeah.
And oh man, he was great tonight. He was even better last game. Like that glove save. Kidding
Lane
me?
Hudson as a goaltender of the year. Connor Helbuck,
He's
watch your back.
watch your back. Yeah, he's coming for you. Also, I don't know if you've seen it, Kay. Nick Suzuki, the team generated what was it to tonight? 1.66 expected goals at 5-on-5.
Yeah,
Not great.
no.
While Suzuki was on the ice, they got 1.18 of those.
Nick Suzuki moment.
Like almost all of it.
Man, he's so important to this team. I know people keep talking about injury or whatever, but unless that man is actively dying, they can't afford to have him. Like I hate to say it, I hate to make a guy be like you have to actually play through even if you're hurt, which I don't think he's that hurt. To be honest, I've already seen it get better. Um, but yeah. Also, one more. Andrew, one more thing. Gary Alley, right?
Oh no.
Gary Alley talking about the Team Canada roster, right? And he's like, did Nick Suzuki do enough to make it? Like he's like, and like making it a whole question. Listen, I'm not guaranteeing it, but most of the pundits, most of the people who are like actually in the know and have kept their mouth shut about shitty enough stuff to have actual information, that they are putting him on their roster. Nick Suzuki, Gary Galley, keep his name out of your mouth. only guy I want to hear his name out of their mouth is Craig Button, because he, much like me, cannot shut the fuck up about Nick Suzuki. Or Nicholas.
Craig Button, certified Nicholas Suzuki respecter. This is true. It's funny, when Button likes a guy, he will tell you over
He does it with
and
he does
over
it with
and
Gooley
over.
too. He does it with Gooley too. It's very there's a reason why I can forgive Craig Button of his lot of his sins.
Yeah, like talks way too much during the broadcast for sure. He's got like that Pierre Maguire thing where he feels like he always has to be saying something. But I don't mind him on Habs broadcast because he actually does not just like the players, but look them up and like
Yeah.
look up tape and like understand what their strengths are.
Yeah.
Like he actually does give a crap about his job, which a lot of people in media don't. Speaking of which, and staying on the topic of Nick Suzuki, I know you're not a French media consumer, Kay, but Normand Flynn from RDS said that Nick Suzuki is not good enough defensively to make Team Canada, and instead they should take Claude Giroux.
Brother.
What year is it?
Good to hear.
For context, Normand Flynn is also the person who suggested that the Canadiens should trade Nick Suzuki for Wayne Simmons.
So true, King. Oh, this is a person that is so serious, so deeply serious, so worth listening to.
Yeah. Just, crushing it. Crushing it.
Fucking insane.
Montreal MUC says, speaking of Pierre Maguire, he appears on Marinaro's podcast these days. I mean, that just is another reason for me to not listen to that show.
Who doesn't appear on that podcast?
I'll be honest. I don't think Pierre Maguire has had anything worthwhile to say about hockey that you couldn't get from 10,000 other smarter people in like 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Like since the advent of analytics, he has made himself irrelevant by choosing to remain ignorant. This is a guy who came on Montreal radio and said that analytics are garbage because they would tell you that Brendan Gallagher sucks. Brendan Gallagher, one of the best players by analytics in the NHL over the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Like literally, if you only looked at analytics, you'd probably think he was a superstar if you ignored point scoring.
Yeah.
So yeah, not smart.
Yeah. Me, when I don't want to know literally anything and I'm deeply incurious as a person, like over the last however long I've been doing Game Over, I've already learned so much more about analytics, and that's not me patting myself on the back. That's just me saying I have a deep curiosity about hockey, and that's more than I can say for other people.
And that's why I got into it too. Like,
I think we might be frozen.
Are we? Here, I'll try to. Hopefully we're fixed now. We appear to be fine on the OBS side of things. So if it's YouTube, I apologize, folks. On my feed, it looks okay. Broadcast is fine, says Trinka. All right. Aunt Nick says, what's wrong with Marinaro? Nothing. Pierre Maguire, I was saying. I don't think he's worth listening to. Marinaro's an entertainer, not an analyst. That's the big thing, right? Like he has his connections. He'll give you some good information once in a while, but Marinaro will say whatever comes to mind in the moment. And he'll say the complete opposite the following day, even though nothing's changed. Like that's fine. I don't mind listening to Marinaro. I find him entertaining. I think he's a pretty good interviewer as well. I like him more for soccer, actually. Soccer, he's good. Soccer, he's fun too. Like he's a fun dude. And also from what I've heard from people who've worked with him, Marinaro's a really good dude. So I'll give that to him. If I want like hockey analysis though, that's not who I'm going to. It's not disrespect. It's just not who I'm going to. We should probably wrap it up here, but I did see one thing that I wanted to comment on. GDB, do Caulfield or Hudson make Team USA? Sorry. No,
they hate.
I don't think so. And I'm glad. I think it's good for us.
Yeah. Feel terrible for them because I'm sure they'd love to, but nope. They make bad decisions for small players. And I hope they have fun with Vincent Trocheck? Like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And Nick is 100% making Team Canada, by the way. Like, anybody in the know is calling him a lock.
I'll bet on that.
Yeah. All right, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. Kay and I are going to go have a snack and go to sleep.
Yes. Correct.
Hopefully you all can do the same. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll be back with you tomorrow because the Canadiens are playing back-to-backs every damn weekend in December until the holidays. As the Canadiens take on the Oilers. I think tomorrow's a home game, right? They're back at home?
Maybe not.
No, it's a 7 p.m. start.
Who knows? I can't look it up.
All right, folks. We'll see you later tomorrow night. Be back with us, hopefully for a Habs win. Come on, we need some fun here. See you later.
Let's go. Sorry.